Welcome to the Line Life podcast. I'm Jeff Postlethwaite, Senior Editor of T&D World, and today we're bringing you more stories of the grit, courage, and inspirational teamwork that it takes to be a line worker.
Hi, my name is Amy Fishbach, Field Editor for T&D World magazine and host of the Line Life podcast. For this episode, we'll be featuring Bryce Zahn from Capital Electric Line Builders. Bryce was featured in our December 2024 print issue in our Faces of the Future department, which highlights apprentices from across North America who are making a difference in the line trade. Before we dive into the interview that I had with Bryce, I'm going to give you an overview of the Faces of the Future article. To begin, here's a little bit of background information about Bryce. Bryce is a 7th step apprentice who recently competed in the apprentice division at the 2024 International Lineman's Rodeo. He enjoys spending time with his wife and 4 children, eating at Texas Roadhouse, and helping others. He also loves to hunt and fish. He's learning how to use meters, different powered hand tools, and digger derricks during his apprenticeship. He encourages aspiring apprentices to never stop learning and always look for ways to improve and sharpen their skills. In the future, he sees the need for grid infrastructure improvements and expansions. Getting his start. He got his foot in the door as a groundman working on a Vactron truck and various other URD work such as boring and stubbing transformers for line installations. He did not go to boot camp or a line school and had no previous experience except for a few years working for Comcast. Making a career change. Working on power lines in the electrical field was always something that interested him for years. It wasn't until the age of 32 that he made the decision to pursue this field. He knew 1 or 2 other people who were line workers, but they had never talked about their careers. He made numerous phone calls to the union, Mo Valley, and friends, and eventually began working as a groundman for Capital Electric. From there, he eventually started his apprenticeship, and this year he will top out as a journeyman lineman. Day in the life. As of press time, he was a 7th step apprentice and was working on an overhead dock crew, learning many different things from switching, reconduct jobs, pole changeouts, maintenance work, URD, and many other things. His workday ran from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., and he was on a 3-person crew as the only apprentice. His work focused on dock work for Evergy, and he was trained through the experiences he encountered with the work Evergy gives to the apprentices each week. Challenges and rewards. He said it was challenging to travel and get the required experience, especially when you have a family. He said it's also difficult to keep up with the book work from the JATC. Training for today's apprentices. He said he thinks there are a lot more resources available to apprentices now, and the bookwork is probably more advanced than in the past. Storm memories. For him, working storms is one of the pinnacle moments of what he does. He said he enjoys them thoroughly and loves to help people. He loves the giving spirit and the spirit of unity and gratitude that overcome everyone involved. While the working conditions are tough sometimes with long hours, little sleep, and being away from your family, all these things are part of storming through. He said it gives him a great sense of pride to work on storms. Challenges and rewards. He said he loves being part of the trade. It's very rewarding, and storming is his favorite part. Turning people's lights back on in a time of loss and devastation is very rewarding. Succeeding as an apprentice. He said it takes a good attitude, a good work ethic, and perseverance. He said his best quality is the work ethic his parents helped to develop in him. Staying safe. To stay safe in the field, he said you must use safe work methods, proper PPE, and fall protection correctly. Future plans. He said he sees himself as a journeyman lineman and hopefully a foreman eventually. To reach this goal, he plans to continue working hard and learning everything he can possibly learn. As one of the apprentice line workers who was featured in the Faces of the Future department, Bryce Zahn, along with the other apprentices who are profiled in Faces of the Future and the journeyman line workers who are featured in the line worker focus department, receive a free Milwaukee tool package. If you're interested in being profiled or if you would like to nominate an apprentice or journeyman, please reach out to me at amyfischbach@gmail.com. Again, that's amyfischbach@gmail.com. We look forward to profiling a lot of great apprentices and journeyman line workers in 2025. Now let's move on to the interview that I had with Bryce at the 2024 International Linemen's Expo. He was there competing as an apprentice for Capital Electric Line Builders, and he had just returned from storm duty for Hurricane Helene in North Carolina. Now let's listen in on my conversation with Bryce. Bryce, thank you so much for being here and joining us today for the Line Life podcast. To begin, can you describe the damage caused by Hurricane Helene in North Carolina and how you helped to restore power?
Yeah, so it certainly seemed a little bit different than my past experience down in Florida with Hurricane Ian a couple of years ago, but they suffered significant damage, and it was kind of a speechless moment just seeing how bad the flooding and everything that took place down there. I spoke with some people up in the mountains at one point, and they said they were just sitting in their home at 4 a.m. You could just hear everything going on around them, the mudslides and things, and just not much they could do, just kind of a helpless feeling of wondering if their house was next. And it was a lot of devastation. So we were quick to get out there and eager to help and get the power restored.
So how many linemen from your company went out there then?
I think maybe 75 to 100.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then where did you stay when you were there?
We stayed in the man camps there with Duke Energy. We were just up the hill from where a lot of the news media and pictures and videos were, where people first saw on the news. We're just right up the hill from that where we were staying. And so.
Talk about what the mudslides did to the infrastructure. Did it just completely wash it away, or did you have to start from scratch?
The ones that we saw, you'd just be driving along on the mountainsides and just take the road out or take the whole hillside out. And a lot of guys were talking about how the dirt out there there's a lot more mud and sand in the hills than rock. And so just the devastation from all the flooding and the rain, it was really bad. And it'd just take the trees and, the hillsides and just wash right down the mountains. And it was really sad to see.
And Bryce, what kind of work did you do there to restore power?
We would go to our job sites, the tickets that they'd give us, and we would assess the situation, wreck out all the old line and poles and set new poles, get the wire back up, and restore the power as soon as possible.
And then what were the man camps like? Can you describe the lodging conditions and how you got food and so forth?
So they provided food, snacks, and lodging, showers, bathrooms, things of that nature. The man camp was actually, the cabins that we stayed in were in semis, and they were divided into 3 sections, and the beds were actually very comfortable. AC, each little bed space had their own outlet for your phone and your own vent for the AC, and they provided comfortable bedding and sleeping bags and things like that. It was nice to be able to get some good sleep at night.
Absolutely. And then how long of shifts did you have? Did you work 16-hour shifts?
Yes, we were doing 16s.
And what was that like for you, Bryce, to work those long days during storm duty?
It's pretty much every night you're eager to get off your feet and just get a hot shower, which is you're very thankful for. Just get in bed as soon as you can, get as much sleep as possible.
What were the working conditions like during the storm restoration? For example, what was the weather like when you got there?
The weather was actually beautiful out there, thankfully. Of course, being here in Kansas City, it's been so humid this year. And out there, the humidity was not bad at all, and the weather was perfect. It was like your perfect, ideal fall day, pretty much every day out there. The last 3 or 4 days, it started to get pretty cool in the evenings, but 40s and then up in the 60s and 70s during the day. And, nice, perfect breeze, which it really makes working in those conditions a lot easier for sure. So a lot more enjoyable. The people out there were just so appreciative. Just everyone stopped and thanked you. And it was really nice.
So, Bryce, can you share a story about maybe when a customer or someone in the community brought you food or a thank you card or something like that?
One in particular on our way out there, believe it was in Greenville. We stopped and kind of regrouped our guys. And there was a mom driving around in her minivan loaded with Black Rifle coffees and sodas and energy drinks, just the sweetest lady. And ran into the parking lot, saw us, and said, "Come to the back of the van," and handed out, several drinks, and just wanted to show her appreciation and doing her part to be thankful and to help us. That spirit is really neat.
And then how did you stay safe on storm duty? Because I know that sometimes the systems can be different from one utility to the next.
I mean, for the most part, I think it was the same. There really wasn't a whole lot of difference. Up in Ohio, we were there first. Things were a little bit different there just because the voltage was higher, but down in the Carolinas, it was pretty much the same as here.
How long were you there for the storm restoration?
We were there for just over 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yep.
Okay, so how did you stay in touch with your family? Because I know that you and your wife have some young kids.
Right. So we were kind of concerned rolling into there, being in the mountains, no signal, no lights, obviously. So, told my wife and kids I wasn't sure if I'd be able to talk to you guys for the next few weeks. So, said our hellos and goodbyes on our way in there. But thankfully, the first couple of days were a little rough finding signal. But after that, we were able to, at some point throughout the day, get a signal and still be able to say hello and, reach back home and talk to our loved ones. So it was nice.
And I know that right after Hurricane Helene, Hurricane Milton was right on its heels. So did you have anyone from Capital Electric Line Builders that went down to help in Florida after Milton as well?
I don't believe so. Our crews were released out of Nashville and sent back home straight from Asheville. So they did ask us at the beginning of the week if they were trying to get a head count for Florida, but the way the timing worked and just trying to get all the power back on, they didn't want to, I think, usher everyone out of North Carolina to Florida until North Carolina was wrapped up and taken care of. And just the way the timing happened with Milton coming into Florida, we ended up staying in Asheville and finishing up there. And then Florida filled up with linemen. And so they just went and sent us home once we were done with North Carolina.
But it felt good to be back home.
It did.
With your family.
It definitely did.
Yeah.
It's 2 weeks doesn't seem that bad until you're away from those you love. And it's nice to get back to see them again.
Well, Bryce, thank you for all you did to get the power on following Hurricane Helene. And now you're here at the International Lineman's Rodeo Week. And so you're going to be competing on Saturday?
Yes, I am. So competing as an apprentice. I'm not even sure what the competitions are yet. I'm assuming there'll be the pull top rescue and then the egg rescue where you run up the pole with the egg and then you have to go back down the pole with it in your mouth without breaking it. It's a deduction. Last year I broke it just barely. So I'll probably do that one last this time because this time of year I'm so stuffy and I wasn't able to breathe and ended up cracking the egg trying to breathe. It was kind of funny, but so I'm not sure what the other two competitions will be. So it'd be interesting to see.
So Bryce, when will you be topping out as a journeyman?
Probably next year.
That's exciting. And is there anyone you want to give a shout out to on this episode of the Line Life podcast?
Shout out to my kids. This year, Mo Valley, which is the apprenticeship that I'm a part of, is doing their first kids competition.
Mm-hmm.
And so all three of my boys wanted to participate in that. And I'm just really excited for them. They have talked about it nonstop since we signed them up. And they're just really looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to that and watching them, being there for them for that more than even my competition. And so I'm really proud of them.
That's wonderful. Well, Bryce, thank you so much for joining us today for the Line Life podcast.
Yes. Thank you, Amy.
For this next segment for this Line Life podcast episode, I'm honored to feature one of Bryce Zahn's 4 children, Caleb, who participated in the first kids rodeo at the International Lineman's Rodeo Grounds in Bonner Springs, Kansas. This contest was organized by Missouri Valley JATC and sponsored by Buckingham Manufacturing. And now here is the interview that I had with 10-year-old Caleb. Hi, this is Amy Fishbach, field editor for T&D World Magazine, and I'm here at the 2024 International Lineman's Expo with Bryce Zahn and his family. And Bryce is an apprentice for Capital Electric Line Builders, and now I have the honor of talking to one of his sons, Caleb. And he and his family are from Paola, Kansas. So Caleb, to start, what do you like about coming to the International Lineman's Rodeo Week, and who are you with today?
I came with my dad. I like to get stuff. It's fun.
And how old are you, Caleb?
I'm 10.
You're 10? Wonderful. And are you going to be out at the International Lineman's Rodeo?
So a part of the junior one.
Oh, you are? That's awesome. Can you tell me more about that and how you decided to do the kids' rodeo?
Our dad surprised us with it one night, so I was super happy to do it.
And do you know what you'll be doing as part of that contest? Are you going to climb a tower or something?
I think we're climbing a training tower.
You're climbing a training tower. Okay, well, when I'm out there on the rodeo grounds, I'm going to come look for you then. And then how did you get ready for this competition?
I climbed trees.
You climbed trees? Okay, that's perfect. So do you want to be a line worker one day too, like your dad?
Yeah.
You think so? Okay, what is it about the line trade that makes you want to do it too, do you think?
I want to go on storm, and I love tornadoes and storm and lightning. That would give me a good chance to see it.
And what is it like having a dad who's a lineman? I know that he just went to North Carolina for storm duties.
I miss him a lot.
Yes, I'm sure you do, Caleb, and I'm sure he misses you and your family a lot too. I'm so glad he was able to be back home with your family for the rodeo week. And do you want to give a shout out to anyone on this podcast, Caleb?
Oh, anyone who doesn't have part in the industry, you should figure out some way to get in.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Caleb. And I also want to give a shout out to Bryce Zahn's other 3 kids who were also at the International Lineman's Rodeo Week, as well as his wife and family and friends. Thank you so much, Bryce, for taking part in our Faces of the Future department and podcast series. And if you know of an apprentice who is making a difference in the line trade, make sure that you email me again at amyfishbach@gmail.com. So let's highlight the up-and-coming apprentices in the line trade. And thanks again for listening to the Line Life Podcast.
This episode of the Line Life Podcast was written, recorded, and edited by Amy Fishbach. It was produced by Jeff Postlewaite. That's me. To listen to past episodes, visit www.tdworld.com/podcasts or find us at Podbean. You could also drop us a voice memo or message at linelifepodcast@gmail.com with your comments on this episode. We'd love to hear from you. Please follow this show on Podbean or your favorite podcasting app to be updated when new episodes are released. Thank you for listening.